Welcome to the video for MakeHaven's Silkscreen Process. In this video, you will learn how to coat a screen, prep an image, burn the image, clean up, and reclaim a screen. So let's get started.
The first thing you're going to want to do is get yourself some emulsion. And this will be available in the store here, so you will be able to use as much as you need for a screen, but you'll pay by screen. But this is also available at most art stores if you look for it. It's called Speedball Diazo, and there is another little thing that comes with it. It's a sensitizer, and it's what makes it photosensitive. So that little bottle is the thing that you mix into this, and there's directions on how to do that. You add a little bit of water, but this is, again, a great one to start with, and it's also available at MakeHaven. And one thing that you should know is that these live in the refrigerator right here. It's the one in the printmaking area that says non-consumable items only, so don't put your lunch in here. One important thing that we'd love you to do is to date your emulsion. So whenever you mix it, just put a little piece of tape on it that says the date you mixed it, because that'll tell you when it was mixed and whether it's still good or not, because this has a shelf life of 4 months when refrigerated, as it says on the back. So definitely recommend keeping it in the fridge. Okay? And you don't have to get this here at MakeHaven, you can bring your own. So this is somebody's, so you can have your own nice big jar of emulsion too in the fridge, okay? Next step is you get yourself a screen. Screens, again, are available at MakeHaven. You can purchase them here, or you can also go to a place like Artisan Craftsman, which is across the street, and they'll have pre-made screens, pre-stretched screens like this. So once you've got your screen, you're going to come on over here. First thing you probably want to do is turn the lights off in this area, just so you don't have a ton of light hitting this, because it is light sensitive. So if it's your first time doing this, it might take a couple of tries, so you don't want a lot of light blasting your emulsion, right?
To turn the lights off in this area, you just want to come over by the front door. Make sure no one else is working in this back area over here that you're going to interrupt, and then you will just press this button, and that will turn off our lights to reduce your light exposure there. But we're going to keep them on so that you can actually see for the video.
Next step is you're gonna have your emulsion out, right? And you'll have it nearby, it'll be open, and you're gonna grab yourself a scoop coater. So you're gonna fill this scoop coater pretty well. I would say don't skimp out on it, because if you have any excess, you're gonna put it right back into the container. But you'll have, your emulsion in your scoop coater. And one thing that I recommend is putting down a piece of paper, whether it's brown paper or some other, scrap paper that you have, just to keep your area clean, keep the screen off the ground, keep the dust off of it. Easy cleanup in the end. And so once you have your emulsion, I typically work on the ground when I do this. But you're gonna kind of put your screen at an angle. I wouldn't say it's completely 45 degrees, but it's leaning up against something, so it's nice and sturdy. And you're gonna start by making contact with the screen and the edge of the scoop coater right here. You'll notice this edge is sharp. And most scoop coaters are gonna look very similar to this in design. So there's a few available up there. You can also purchase your own for larger screen sizes. And so first step is you have your emulsion in the scoop coater. You're gonna make contact with the screen, but not tip it yet. And what I like to do is I tip the scoop coater and I watch the emulsion make contact with the screen. And then when I see that it's touching the screen from end to end, with even pressure and kind of a steady upward pull. I go up the screen and then pull away. And you want a nice, even, thin coat of emulsion. Once you have that done, you're gonna flip your screen. You're gonna make sure you have enough emulsion in here again. You're gonna do the same on this side. Same process, right? Make contact, then tip it. And then pull up again and coat your image area, okay? So once you're done with that, you're gonna set this off to the side somewhere on the ground, wherever you need to. And the next step is to put your screen in the screen drying box right here. So this is a great spot to do it because you're not too far away from the box. So there are screens in here. There's kind of a system of little cubbies that the screen goes in, and when you put it in there, it dries for, I would say, at least 4 hours, but you should probably do it overnight. You want the emulsion to be dry on both sides so that it doesn't come off after you expose it, okay? So you would slide your screen in here. I'll pop this open just really quickly so you can see that there's little cubby holes in there. So you'll put your screen in there to store. That just keeps it nice and dark and gives it a nice little spot to take a nap for a bit. At this point, once you have your screen put away, you want to take any excess emulsion that you have, and you're going to take one of, like a palette knife or a spoon or some sort of utensil tool that's going to help you take all the excess emulsion and put it back into this container. Wipe up any mess that you might make. And important part is you always wash these out right after you're finished. So bring it on over to the slop sink here. Give it a good clean. There's brushes and all that stuff up there. So get all the emulsion out, let it dry, and you can put it back in its home where the scoop coaters live. Don't put popsicle sticks in your scoop coaters, and then don't, not clean it out. Clean your scoop coaters right away. That's the important part, because then we have issues like all of this emulsion that gets stuck and dried, and it makes for a bad coat on your screen. So clean your scoop coaters.
Your image should be solid black positive space and solid white negative space, no gradients or varying values. You can also draw your image on acetate that has a toothed surface to hold the ink. The best way to get your image to the printer is to use the file bucket. Go to bucket.makehaven.org and drop it in. Warning, file bucket is not secure, so don't send secret documents. Go to the printer station and open the file bucket. You'll see your Not a Secret file. Open it in the program of your choice. Do a test print to make sure you are happy with the size. You can resize it in Inkscape by going to File and Document Properties and changing the document size. Next, load a transparency into the multi-purpose tray. Transparencies are available for purchase in the store area in the back, or you can bring your own. If you do bring your own, make sure they're compatible with a laser printer. Load the sheet into the multi-purpose tray at the base of the printer and make sure it spools partway up. Follow the steps on the screen to print a transparency. Make sure you print to the multi-purpose tray. Under the Quality tab, change the toner density of the black so you get the highest toner density. This will make the transparency as opaque as possible and give you the best results when burning. You'll want to print out 2 transparencies on separate sheets. Remove any excess material from your transparencies with the paper cutter. Now line up the 2 transparencies and tape them together using clear tape.
After your screen has dried and you come in, you are going to pop it out of the box, and you're going to have your transparency that you've printed out. One thing that's important to remember about the transparency itself is that when you place it on your screen, you're going to be placing it on this side. So not the side that has the depression in it, right? But this side. And I usually tape it on in at least 2 spots to keep it sturdy. But this is the important part. So you want it facing, when you're looking at it this way, you want it facing backwards so that when you actually, you can't see through this one, but when you're actually exposing it, it's exposing right reading because this is text. So you don't want it to be backwards when you print it. There's a lot of printmaking that does print backwards. Screen printing is not that, that type of printmaking. So again, and this is not a screen that is actually coated with fresh emulsion. We're just pretending, so pretend with me. So you've got your, you wouldn't have the tape on here yet either, but you've got your transparency on here, and when you look at it this way, it's backwards. So you check that. You're gonna tape it down for yourself. Scotch tape is the way to go for this. And so you've got your transparency on there, you've got your screen ready to go. You are going to expose your screen now. So in this unit right here, there is a UV light down at the bottom. You might be able to see it. Yep, there you go. So you would place your screen face down under this guy right here. And when you're ready to go, you're gonna flip that switch. There is a little bit of a delay, but it's not much, so it shouldn't really matter. So when you flip it, you should see the UV light turn on. Do not look at it. Don't peel the curtain back. Don't even look at it with sunglasses on. Like, just make sure that when it's on, you're not, looking at the light. One thing that is recommended, especially when you're first starting out, is an exposure time that is going to be the easiest to use, and it's a minute. That may change based on your image, but when you're first starting out, just use a minute. It's typically pretty good for this unit right here. And when you progress in screen printing, you might change your mind about how long you want to leave it in for. Some images might need less, some images might need more, but at the beginning, stick to a minute. And again, when you're ready to start, set your timer and flip the switch, start your timer. Don't stare at the light. I'm not gonna look at it, but it's like a purple glow. It's an ultraviolet light in there, okay? So that's what it looks like. And then once your timer goes off, flip the switch off again, and your screen should be ready at this point. Once it's off, you know it's definitely off. You're gonna take your screen. That once your screen is exposed, you'll know that something happened when you peel off your transparency, and you'll see that the actual areas that were black on your transparency are actually lighter in color in the emulsion. So you'll know that something happened, the magic happened, okay? You'll peel off this guy and you'll go over to the sink right away. And people do this in different ways. There is this hose right here that you can use as a spray out. So this is basically like a spray out booth. You can also be a little gentler if you want with like a paper towel or a sponge and just some running water. But this is probably the fastest way to get your emulsion out. So you would prop your screen in here. It's going to be loud, but you spray your screen. And usually I would recommend kind of doing it first by hand if you're worried that you may have made a mistake or something like that, but you can usually spray it out and it'll be fine. Once you're done with that, then you're gonna take your screen and let it dry off, and make sure that it's completely dry before you do anything else with it. One thing that's also recommended is if your screen may have been underexposed, or it's just good practice to do, is that once your screen is dry after you've washed out the image, before you print, you're gonna pop it back in the machine under the light, I would say for another minute or so, to harden the emulsion further. And that just prevents the emulsion from, again, if it was underexposed and it's a little soft, it hardens it, it won't break down while you're printing, okay? Once your screen is burned and you have your image on there, you're gonna want it to tape off any areas of the screen that are exposed, which is basically the edge. You would notice that there's a gap in between where the emulsion sits and where the frame is. So you want to block out that area with tape, just to prevent ink from coming through there, because when you're actually screening, your ink kind of sits at the two ends. So you can use something like this screen tape. This is actually meant for this process, or you can use packing tape. This person used duct tape, and there's a lot of different ways to do it, but usually you would put a layer of tape on the back of the screen. So this is the side that faces down, and well, that's the front of the screen. The back of the screen is the side that you can actually kind of put your finger in. There's a dip, right? And you can put a layer of tape here too, and that prevents any ink from coming through. So again, something like screen tape or packing tape, duct tape, which might be a little harder to clean off the residue. Whatever your choice is, this will be the easiest. It won't have as much residue. So let's say you've been printing your screen, you got enough prints out of it, you're ready to have it go away. There is something that we use called, this is photo emulsion remover. You might also see it called image remover, but if you're using speedball diazo, it's called photo emulsion remover. This is going to help you take out the old emulsion from the screen, and then you can reuse the screen to make a new image. I'll put some gloves on, that's important. I don't really want to have this stuff on my skin. And this stuff, you basically just start putting it on the screen. Now, I would recommend using regular paper towels rather than the guys that are in this machine, because they're a little bit more absorbent. I'm gonna coat my paper towel with some of this. I wouldn't put it directly on the screen, just spray it on the screen, because then it can just go straight through it and you lose most of it down the sink. You might end up doing that later, but what you'll see, this stuff start working instantly. If you notice, some of the emulsion is coming off. I'm gonna put a little bit more on there. And I would let this sit on the screen for a little bit. You're gonna brush it on. You might have to do this a couple of times depending upon how old your image is as well. The older the emulsion, sometimes the harder it is to get out of the screen. But we're gonna let this sit for a bit. Once you've been, you kind of let it sit for a little bit. I kind of added some more of the remover with the paper towel, and you can see that that image is starting to break down. So I'll typically grab a brush just like this one. This one usually lives here somewhere. And you're gonna start scrubbing your screen, and you'll see that the image comes off a little bit better when you're kind of being tough with it. So don't be gentle. Just don't break your screen. And you're gonna do this until you've got basically all of your emulsion out of the screen, right? So I would keep doing this until it was completely clean. You might have to add a little bit more remover again based on how old and stubborn your image is. But yep, and then you'll be rinsing it the whole time too. So you're trying to rinse it and scrub it at the same time. Just keep going until it's clean and then let it dry and you can start the process all over again.